Hey everyone, Nicole, and welcome back to my channel. In my regular non-booktube life, a lot of people ask me the same questions. How I read so much, how I read so consistently, and how do I keep my love for reading in general. A lot of people share the same sentiment with me. They say that they've lost the ability to find time for reading even though they really enjoyed it as kids or teenagers. And in this video, I want to give you a few uncommon tips that will help you to stay consistent and essentially to read more because of it. The first advice that I'm going to give you is not applicable to every person on planet Earth. It's not applicable to every situation, but it had worked for me very well in the past. It's to use the public transportation more or to walk if possible. Driving is a thing that a lot of us do on a daily basis, and it takes a lot of effort, including mental effort, to do it. I truly believe that you cannot be invested in the audiobook if you have to extend so much focus to the thing that you're doing. So using the public transport or walking to places is actually really helpful. When I was in uni and when I worked in the office, I did most of my reading on the public transportation because the time that I spent in the subway in a day equaled to 3 hours. So after that, at home, I was too exhausted to pick up a book. You can listen to your audiobook while walking and be really focused on it, and you can read your ebook or physical book while on the train or in the bus. Audiobooks on the subway are not that great of an idea because subways are usually very noisy. Also, using a public transport or taking a walk is a good way to alleviate your stress after a hard day of labor, and public transport specifically is really good for napping. If reading on a moving vehicle is just not your cup of tea, I have another tip for you. Figure out how to tie in your new reading habit with an old habit. For example, if you work in the office or at home, and every single time during lunch you go on a walk, pick an audiobook and take it with you. If you like taking a bath every single Sunday at a specific time of the day, why don't you take your book with you? Reading is very relaxing. It's not gonna interrupt anything because you're not doing anything in the bath. And also, by tying your new habit to an old habit, you're making sure that you won't forget about it. Committing to something new sometimes requires a sacrifice, and I know that you don't want to hear that, but cutting out things that don't serve you to make sure you have time for something that you want to do is important in general. Let's say every single Friday you're going to a pub with a few of your colleagues that you actually don't even like. And at the ripe age of 30, you realize that you would actually prefer to stay at home and enjoy a good book. Then stop committing to going with your colleagues to the pub. If you don't like it, don't waste your time on it. I know it's very hard to say no to people sometimes, especially when it comes to social things, because society expects us to be extroverts. It expects us to give our time to people freely, especially if we claim that we like them. But even if you like your colleagues and going to the pub is still annoying to you, stop going. They might call you boring and complain, but at the end of the day, you will free your evening to do something that you enjoy. You can actually approach this tip from different angles. It's not always another person pressuring us to do something. Sometimes we're doing things that we're supposed to do because society tells us that we have to do it, or the way our family operated was the same. For example, if you don't enjoy grocery shopping and you would rather spend this time doing something else and you have the means, just order the groceries to your home and do something else in the meantime. For example, pick up a book. You've surely heard about audiobooks before, and I've briefly talked about them too in this video, but I think that advising reading audiobooks is just the tip of the mountain. An upgrade to this advice that I personally practice and that works is what I call one genre, one medium, multiple books. Sometimes your reading is halted by you not being in the mood for a certain book or a certain genre, and it helps to pick something else. Yes, controversial again, some people prefer to read one book at a time, but I think that it often plunges you deep into a reading slump, because if you're not in the mood for something and you're forcing yourself to do it, it's just not an enjoyable experience. And we as people don't like doing something that we don't like. So the key thing for this tip to work is the one book, one medium rule. You can read as many books as you're capable of at the same time, but the genres of those books need to be different, and the mediums for these books need to be different as well. This way you won't mix the books up, and you would be able to switch to a book that you're more interested in at the moment. The next advice ties into this one. It's to read books that are actually interesting and to soft DNF. DNF stands for did not finish. This rule just allows you to put the book away for a time, or in general to never read again if you find that you're not invested in it. Finding a book that interests you is very important. A lot of people in my life that are not reading anymore, or struggling with reading, or are in a painful process of reading the same book for 2 years now, do not know how to give up on the book, and also do not know how to find books that are more aligned with their interests. You don't need to read a business book in your free time. Expel this notion from your head. Read your business books in your working time, because you're doing this for work, unless you are working for yourselves, I guess. You do not need to read classics if you don't actually enjoy classics. Be honest with yourself. Stop reading for other people. Read for yourself. You don't need to read a Game of Thrones book because that's the only fantasy book that you've heard about in the past 5 years, and because you watched the TV show. Go to a bookstore, ask the assistant to help you in picking up a good book for yourself. Go to a library and browse, watch some booktube or book talk, and figure out what you enjoy, what books genuinely sound intriguing for you. Do your research. There are tons of websites that cover books. Even the morning news cover books. There are so many books out there. You don't have to be stuck on Harry Potter or Song of Ice and Fire or Stephen King. And if you don't like the book that you're reading in the moment, just put it away for later, or put it away for forever if you genuinely don't think that you're going to enjoy it at a later time. Use your library, buy secondhand, borrow from friends if putting away the book that you bought is a hard thing because money, and I absolutely get it. Now, if you're just a very social person and you prefer to do things with other people, reading might seem like a very solitary experience, but it doesn't have to be. Doing something with other people is very motivating, and if you want to get into the habit of reading, signing up for a book club online or offline is gonna help a lot. It doesn't even have to be an official book club. It doesn't have to be an offline book club. You can do it with your long distance friends. You can even do it with your long distance partner, and you can even do it with your relatives. It's actually a very good way to connect to your older relatives that are not particularly mobile, so going out of the house with them is not an option. Doing something together and talking about something that you've experienced together is a good way to connect. I highly recommend it. It's going to keep you accountable, and it actually is going to be a lot of fun. Now, if you don't have any friends that want to do it, if you don't have any people in your life that are passionate about reading, you can go to Goodreads and find your people there. You can go to booktube and join an online reading club, because a lot of booktubers have their own. They choose a book that they want to read with their friends, and they ask other people to join. Then at the end of the month, you all can talk about it. It is a really good way to spend your time It is both social and it actually gives you the thing that you want to achieve. You want to read more books and you're going to read more because you're doing it in a group. The last advice that I'm going to give you is for the people that love to compete. If challenging yourself is a thing that you enjoy, do this with reading as well. You can join Goodreads or other platforms where you can state how many books you want to read. It doesn't help some people, it burns them out, but if you are competitive and you like achieving things that you write down on the paper, it's gonna help. It's going to help for you to commit to a specific number of books. You can also challenge yourself in many different ways. Just look up the variety of different reading vlogs that booktubers are coming up with every single month. You can challenge yourself to read the same amount of time that you're spending on your phone scrolling. You can commit to reading your childhood favorites, your mother's favorites, your relatives' favorites, your friends' favorites. You can commit to reading new releases for a month. You can commit to reading as many books as possible until you find one that is so horrible you want to DNF it. You can do so many things with this tip, you just need to be creative about it. So if you like a challenge, challenge yourself in this regard too. These are all the tips that I wanted to share with you today. I hope you find at least one that is going to be helpful for you. We're all different people and not every single thing is working for us. If you have any additional tips, leave them in the comments down below. It's going to be even better if the tip is unusual and we've never heard about it before. If you tried any of the ones that I've talked about in this video, tell me about your experience also in the comments. I hope you found this video helpful. I'll see you soon with another one, but until then,